Hey guys, we're live. Not much to talk about, huh? Welcome to the Mike's Beer Bar afternoon Ask Anything. I'm going to be joined here very shortly by Tom Reed. We'll begin the formal portion of the program. This is one of those that I honestly wish we could wait like another hour or so to pull off, and not just because it would allow me an opportunity to guzzle more caffeine and really wake up. I'm like totally shot from the bouncing back and forth to New York, but also because we had Tristan Jarry talk today, a whole bunch of Penguins, pretty much everybody except Evgeny Malkin, and Will Craig is going to be brought out to speak over at PNC Park at 4 p.m. So that's another thing. It's like Penance Day. I'm doing some of the obligatory sharing and so forth that I have to do on social media to try to make sure that this thing gets seen and gets the proper participation. And then I've got Tom. Watch this. Tom magically appears. Hi, Tom.
Hey, how are you?
All right. Man, we need to get you an internet hookup. You look
What's
like
that?
you're on. You look like you're on Pluto. We need to get you an internet hookup.
I know. It's not good.
Here, just slide back. Just there you go, and then lower that, like that. There you go. Okay, perfect. See, Pluto Tom is here with us now too. We're already live, and Dana sends us good afternoon wishes.
Oh, thank you, Dana.
Well, it's a good afternoon for probably a gooder afternoon for me and Tom than it is for Tristan Jarry and Will Craig. Both of whom, at least, you know what? Give them credit. They faced the music. Gino didn't. Gino didn't. Let's get started with the live portion of this. Well, hello and welcome to another afternoon Ask Anything, brought to you by our friends at Mike's Beer Bar over on the North Shore, directly across from Federal Street from PNC Park. Great establishment with fresh, hot, chef-carved food. It's not like bar the way you think of bar. I'm joined in Columbus, Ohio by my friend Tom Reed. Tom, who spent the better part of the week working on a Jeff Carter story that ended up running the day after the team was eliminated. That's the perils of that position, isn't it, Tom?
Yes, you're exactly right. It looked like a good idea, 2-1 when the Penguins were up, but that's sometimes the breaks.
Well, he didn't let you down. He kept scoring. Scored a huge goal in Game 6.
Yeah, he played very well. He really strong showing the 2 months that he was here.
Our man Gary jumps in and says, Tom, I really enjoyed your piece about Carter's wrist shot. I really wish the Penguins had cooperated and still been playing. Good stuff, though. As always, my question is, Teddy Bluger is a must-keep, right? Yes.
Ooh, I would think so. Yeah.
Yes. That is not someone you let go.
So DK, who do you expose? I don't know if we'll get another question. So if you're the front office, who are you going to who are you going to expose among the forwards?
Oh, you're talking about for the expansion draft?
Yeah.
I'd be less worried about the expansion draft and more about free agency. Free agency comes first, and you can't set anything for the Seattle thing. Look, you're going to lose somebody. I have a feeling it's going to be someone like a Jared McCann, you know, and I know there will be people who say, well, he didn't do anything in the playoffs or whatever, but he showed himself to be a pretty darn good hockey player in the regular season. And by the time he got to playoffs, because of Jeff Carter's awesome wrist shot, he just kept deferring and passing to Carter, when in fact McCann is most effective whenever he's shooting the puck. Teddy Bluger is a must keep.
Oh yeah.
That doesn't mean he has to stay or that he wants to stay. I'm sure he does. But Bluger is a guy that you have to keep. The ones that are kind of on the bubble-ish, that I really want to go to bat for, at the top of my list is Cody Ceci. I think the Penguins need a lot more of Cody Ceci, not just on the blue line, but in general.
Terrific season. Yeah, terrific. Came here. I know he's not a darling of the analytics community. I thought he came in and played really well. I thought both him and Matheson both had good seasons for the Penguins. So, yeah, I would if they can keep him. And I do wonder if his reputation has been rehabilitated enough that somebody else may try to jump in there. But I would. It
might. It might. So, hey, move your headset microphone away from it. There you go. That'll make it big.
A little too close for you?
Yeah, well, close talker.
Yeah, I'm a close talker.
What was that from? That was Seinfeld, right?
Seinfeld, yeah.
I get Seinfeld and Curb Your Enthusiasm confused because of the obvious connection there. Food and Hockey says, what percent would you put on Jake Gensel being moved? What kind of deal would that look like? If you're Ron Hexdall and or Brian Burke, depending on how those two end up, working together on these things, and they will have to work together. I don't think you're going to see a real healthy relationship start off with Hextall saying, I want to do this, and Burke saying, no, you can't. I think it's going to have to be something where they agree on moves. You know what I mean? They have to be in unison. It's a different dynamic than the Penguins have ever had, because they've never had this president of hockey operations thing before, and David Morehouse was never going to be somebody who overruled Jim Rutherford, for example. Jake being moved I think you'd be moving him at low value. I think when Jake was putting up 40 and Jake was 1,000% and Jake wasn't coming off that shoulder surgery, not that he was this year, but last year, you would have gotten a lot more for him. If your objective is to get bigger, meaner, tougher, whatever, all that other stuff, you're also going to have to overcome the stigma in a trade, I think, Tom, of Jake being, Sid's line mate. And if we take him here, how much does he produce without him?
Well, now this is a little bit of apples and oranges, but a couple of years ago when Columbus traded for Artemi Panarin, the whole knock was, and again, I know we're talking different levels here, but Artemi Panarin was like, he was made because of Patrick Kane. Patrick Kane made him, and he's not going to be able to survive without Patrick Kane. That was the narrative. That was the narrative when he left Chicago. Can this guy be a really good player without Patrick Kane? Well, we saw what happened there. With Gensel, what I would like to see, DK, maybe, and this may not make Sid happy, but I would just like to see one of his wingers be a little bit sturdier next year. I think in years past they were able to get away with it because Sid was a younger, dynamic player. I think Sid's still a very good player, a very good center, but the dynamism is gone, and that's what happens when you get old. So I think that line needed a little bit more weight on it this year. I just think they were very easily defended in the series. I know you wrote about that extensively, at least one entire column devoted to it. That line just did not produce, and whether
they didn't finish. That I guess that's the concern. Is one of the questions that they have to address. You're right; they didn't produce. Producing is finishing. Okay,
yeah.
Producing shot attempts isn't production. Points are production. Goals are production, and one of the many things that they have to look at from this series, in addition to obviously goaltending, okay, is that they created so many shot attempts and they were, Tom, able to get to the vertical middle in the New York zone, but they either missed the net or they didn't create second chances. And there's got to be something to that, and some of it's going to be roster-based. One thing about Sid's line is you never saw rebound attempts. You never saw – do you remember, any?
No. Well, again, part of that is the one thing they did, not just that line, but early in the game of Game 6 is they created traffic, really, for the first time in the series. They got a couple deflection goals. And as the game went on, Sorokin was just – he ate up every rebound. There was no rebounds in the second and third period of that game. I mean, they weren't great shots necessarily.
That's
it wasn't
the
like
point.
Game 5.
Yeah.
They just did not. They did not create shots that created rebounds.
The world is about to see the real Ilya Sorokin, by the way. I am not blown away by this goaltender the way the whole world is.
I think he's really good, I think I'll say it right here. I'm going out on a limb and saying I think the Islanders will win this series. I've not been a big Boston, not been a big Boston fan. I think Boston's had an easy ride. They got Washington was a train wreck at the end of the season.
Nita asks, we sat pretty close to where the action was at yesterday's Pirates game during that third inning, close enough that I almost feel guilty that I didn't shout out to Will Crow myself to go back and tag first. She's referring to Will Craig, not Will Crow, and tag first base. That said, is there any sense there's excuse or explanation for it? I don't expect to ever see another play like that in my lifetime. Will Craig is going to speak with reporters today at 4:00. So within the hour. So we're going to have our first insight as to what it is, if anything, that he was thinking. And I just feel like, Nita, I want to use this opportunity to say that Will Craig is going to face questions today that are going to be uncomfortable, that he doesn't want to answer. He became a national punchline yesterday. Okay, well, no. His play made the Pirates a national punchline because that's how it always goes with the Pirates. It can never be an individual player messing up. It's always got to be the institution. Never mind that the Pirates have the 11th best fielding percentage in all of Major League Baseball. It's the Pirates who committed the play. But Tristan Jarry also faced the music. Now, granted, in non-coronavirus times, we would have been in there talking to them right after the game, and we would have seen all the raw emotions and everything else here. But there's at least something to be said for, even if it's a day later, for standing up. I mean, Will Craig is the only Pirates player who's being made available in the pregame today, and I'm sure that's for a reason.
Oh, it's good for him. And Jarry had to do it the day after the game 5. Screw up. It's weird. Pittsburgh could have been. ESPN has that not top 10 of the week. Pittsburgh might have been 1 and 2 this week on plays. I can't even remember.
Throw in Marquise snapping the ball over Ben's head against Cleveland, and we've got ourselves a natural hat trick of Pittsburgh beauties for 2021.
But that was 1 week. I've never seen anything. I've never seen anything like what happened yesterday. And I heard the managers and assistant coaches say the same thing. I mean, in any little league game, I've never seen that one before.
See, I'll say this, and I took some heat for this on Twitter, but I expressed immediate empathy for Craig because it's not like he didn't know. It's not like or they didn't train him to know that first base is a force out. He has spent half of his adult life standing next to that bag. Okay, it was just a brain cramp. It happens. Yeah. There was a scene where the cameras cut to the Pirates dugout and they show him like from a profile position doing this with both of his fists clenched together, banging his own forehead. And it reminded me of Marc-Andre Fleury in 2012. I saw him with my own eyes in the bowels of Nassau Coliseum, of all places, actually banging his raw forehead, not a mask, his raw forehead against a white cement wall, no more than 6 feet away from where we were interviewing Thomas Vokoun, his replacement. These things take a toll. It's easy and convenient for fans and for people like me to rip them, and I did in both cases. But man, there's a human toll there,
Absolutely. It was unfortunately for him, this is one of those things that lasts 1 or 2 days. The thing with Tristan Jarry is going to all off season, right? I mean, I hate to be this flip, but that's one of a lot of losses for the Pirates.
From a win-loss standpoint, it doesn't matter.
I'm just saying the shame. I don't know if shame's the right word. The embarrassment, I think, will pass fairly quickly, and this play will go into the Jose Canseco having a home run ball hit off his head. the anniversary just being a couple of days ago. So, he'll move on, but it was extraordinary.
The fact that there's an anniversary of a play that happened like 20 years
ago. Every year. It's one of the greatest baseball plays. And that one the other day was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen.
Chad Parsons wants to know if I've been to OTAs yet. My goodness, no, Chad. I've been bouncing back and forth to New York. We've had a couple of reporters over there, extensive reporting on everything that's going on over there. Harold asks, what if any control of Dwayne Haskins going forward do the Steelers have? If he would turn out well, could he just move on to another team? I don't think you'd see it like that. And they do have control because he's in the house. And in football, once you learn a playbook and you learn a system and you develop a trust with a positional coach or a coordinator or the head coach, your chances of leaving aren't very good. So let's say Haskins goes on and has I don't know, Tom, let's say he just blows everyone away in Latrobe, okay? And you do get reps, okay? You do have opportunity, okay? Not everything is about, what the name is on your back. Dwayne Haskins will want to remember and need to remember that there was one NFL team, one, that came to his rescue after Washington cut him, and that was the Pittsburgh Steelers.
And also, you assume that this could be Ben's last season, so there's an immediate opening in the job. So he would certainly be, if he does well, why would you want to go anywhere else? Because you've obviously proved that you can play there. So yeah, if that ends up being a story, I agree with you, DK. I think he would certainly want to sign on and be the quarterback here.
Brian asks, this is out of left field, but can the Penguins fill the goaltending void with someone like Jonathan Quick from the Kings? Burke and Hexdall are both familiar with him. Everyone's familiar with Jonathan Quick. You don't need to. I know what you're saying. Character and competitiveness, and does he still have it at this age? Meaning the fire and all that other stuff. I saw enough Jonathan Quick over this past regular season because of all the late night hockey that was being shown. And while the Kings weren't very good, to say the least, Quick still has it, and he's still, I think, a top goaltender in the league. And maybe at his age, he could provide the kind of support. I know this, Tom, if the Penguins keep Tristan Jarry, as opposed to just, rocketing him into the sun or something, because he does have a contract. He does have 2 more years.
He just signed
2 more years on that contract. Yeah. That if maybe that they bring in someone else to be a starter / support. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, I thought that's what I would think they would do. That's to me. You'll get a veteran who's again. I don't know if it's going to be I can't imagine it's a big name unless it's like a Jonathan Quick who's much older. But you bring in somebody to kind of compete for the job, and while Jarry is still there and has a chance to play a lot in the regular season and see where it goes. I would think that would be their course of action. I would be very surprised if Jarry were moved unless it was part of something bigger.
Coleman says, okay, so where was the empathy for Todd Frazier coming out of spring training? Can't pick and choose who he feel bad for. Yeah, I can, because he was a scumbag. The way he came at me on the internet and insulted my name like a 4th grader, that's ethnic bigotry, man. There's just no other way around. There's no other description for that. He saw the foreign-sounding name and came after that as if that was supposed to be some kind of, scumbag. So, yeah, when you're talking about empathy, when you're talking about actual empathy, it's a human-to-human reaction. And this guy was a scumbag in his short time here. And by the way, he wasn't just a scumbag with me. He was a scumbag with several other people, including women, referring to them as sweetheart on Twitter. Now, if you don't have a problem with that, feel free to respond. Feel free to say that it's okay to, in 2021, just casually refer to women as sweetheart. Tom, feel free to chime in here.
I missed that one. You were involved. I'll let you handle that.
No, Coleman comes back. Coleman comes back with that's fair. Maybe he wasn't aware of that portion of the thing there. Rick says, and I appreciate you coming back on that. That's cool. Rick says brain farts happen. Do you remember Larry Walker catching a fly ball for the second out, and he gives the ball to a fan? Not as bad as yesterday's play, but it happens. Boy, am I glad someone brought that up. Tom, Larry Walker, who I've voted for and was proud to vote for and was happy to see him get into Cooperstown, is a legit Hall of Famer. One of the main reasons that Larry Walker's in the Hall of Fame is that his fundamentals, his thinking of the game of baseball, were seen as some of the very best anyone's seen in the last 20 or 30 years. You know what I'm saying? It just happens.
Yes, it does. That's what we were saying earlier. Again, that's one of those ones you are glad. We're not talking about playoffs here, but you're just happy that it didn't cost them something more than just another regular season loss. And again, I just think that it goes away in a couple of days. We just move on. We find something else and move on. I feel bad for the guy. He knows better, but he'll get over it. It's not something. Again, I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to be trading places with Tristan Jarry right now. Let's put it that way.
The other thing is he'll get over it, but he'll get over it in the minors. I mean, not to be callous here, but he's DFA when Colin Moran and
he was anyway, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, he would have been anyway.
Yeah,
so.
This won't be some punitive thing or anything like that.
Right.
He's there's a reason that he's 27 years old and was a 2013 original draft pick, 2016 of the Pirates, and had been in the minors this long and had been already DFA'd twice. This will be a third time. So, I'm sure he'll take a lot of ribbing for it on the buses. But you know what? He can at least say to those guys, hey, I made it. Look at all of you on this bus.
And there were two parts to that story. The base runner, the batter, like calling it, running back and then calling his guy safe at home, to me was just like, took that whole thing to a different level, right?
I got to say this too, and I've not heard many people bring this up, but does anyone realize how badly the home plate umpire butchered this? Did you know that when he signaled safe for that runner coming in from third, that the runner was actually not safe, meaning the run literally does not count until a sequence at first base is determined in one direction or the other. Did you know that?
Oh, so he would have had to. He still had to get to first base.
They could if they had made that throw,
just threw it down to first
base. Meaning after the safe call,
right? They
would have had to confer, and the run would have been waved off. So the umpire threw gas on the fire. David Jameson, go ahead, Tom.
No, I just think it's one of those things that's just the
I know,
umpire's reflex is like, there's a play to play. I got to call something here.
Yeah, exactly. David Jameson says hamburgers are hot dogs. I mean, I'm a burgers guy, but I've made exception for the hot dogs at the O. I'll definitely make an exception for the hot dogs at Wiener World downtown, which are outstanding. Down on Smithfield Street, our man Denny is waiting for you down there to serve you hot dogs and impress you on that front. How about you, Tom?
Yeah, I think it depends on what just the way you're going. It depends on where you're getting them. Where I'm from in Warren, Ohio, the hot dog shop just shoot it right into my veins. But I certainly love a good burger too. I mean, look at me. Either way, I'm going either way.
Look at me. Today is, by the way, National Hamburger Day, because there just has to be a national day for absolutely everything here. Rick says that's correct. I assume he's referring to my assessment of hot dogs, but I don't know that here. Coleman comes back and says you got to go hot dog at the ballpark. Anywhere else, it's a burger. I'll be specific. Well, hang on a second. I was going to say Dodger dogs, which you've heard about, and I've done a lot of series at Dodger Stadium. But this year, the Dodgers and their company that was making Dodger dogs for like 50 years had a really ugly falling out. Big story in the front page story in the LA Times. So I don't know about Dodger dogs anymore here.
Now, do you like you've been to Cleveland enough. Do you like the mustard, DK? The Bourbon's mustard? The stadium mustard at Cleveland.
You mean the Brown Stadium?
No. The baseball. I think you can get it at Brown Stadium too.
Yeah, I mean, it's American League ball, man. I don't see that stadium very much. American League ball here. Lewis McKenzie says, does the fan hate toward Malkin and Letang seem overblown? No, but with all due respect, Lewis, the question kind of does, because I'm not sensing hate. And I don't even mean that in its literal term or to wag a finger over the word hate. I just mean I didn't get this sense. Where's hate about Malkin and Letang? Who has that?
You guys are closer to it, but I don't sense that either one of those guys right now. I mean, it seems like if anything, there's more people that want to see them come back.
I would think so.
I don't know what the percentage is, but I would think it would be greater than
fans.
Not.
Fans are, and I don't say this in any sort of like weirdo condescending tone here or whatever, but fans tend to be excessively influenced by the last thing they saw. And the last thing you saw of Malkin and Letang was them at pretty close to their very best, especially Letang, because Letang did it all season long. But that version of Gino that you saw in especially in Game 6, my goodness. I mean, there still aren't 5 players on the planet who can do what he did in that game.
And probably 80%?
Who knows? You mean with a knee? Who knows?
Yeah, he played well.
Let's see what else we have here. Jared says, good friend of yours, buddy. How you been? Hope you're doing well. This is all very personal. Hope all is good with you and everyone in the DK family and your family too, my friend. Stay safe this holiday weekend. You know what? You too, Jared. That's really nice. I don't ever take those for granted. I really don't. There's so much nastiness and hostility in social media, Tom, because people it tends to feel impersonal. That when you get something nice like this from Jared, I think it's actually worthwhile to just pause and appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? You get a lot of these types of comments, especially after when you came back from California and did the Najee Harris story. For our readers at DK Pittsburgh Sports, you saw what that reaction was like, and you read them all. You do. You appreciate them all.
Yeah, it's been one of the things I have really appreciated since being here. It is a community that you have built, and that's been fun getting to know some of these people, and yet having never met anybody. At some point, as we're getting closer back to real life, got to have another meetup with some people. It'd be nice to actually sit down and meet somebody that is a one of our subscribers.
Believe it or not, this has already been discussed that we'll have a meet. We're going to have more than one meetup, but we're going to do them in Pittsburgh first. We're going to have them at Mike's Beer Bar, Moon Golf Club, places where we can get together that are safe. Dean here says he's in for that sort of thing here.
See how I set you up there?
Yeah, right. Lewis comes back to clarify his thing. He says hate was wrong. I've seen a lot of talk about trading them in some Facebook posts. Well, trades aren't made out of spite. Trades aren't made as some punitive thing. That's not hate. If you're talking about trading them, you're talking about, theoretically, you're talking about what can you do to make the team better or the franchise stronger, whether it's for the short term or the longer term. That's definitely that's not hate. Let's see what else here. Tim says, knowing the return needs to be there, how close do you think Ben Charrington is to trading some of the rumored players? Well, if by rumored you mean guys that have been extremely obvious for a very long time, like Tyler Anderson, Richard Rodriguez, maybe Adam Frazier, guys like that, close? No. There's been very, very little movement anywhere in baseball so far, and you don't see these types of deals happen, quite honestly, until you get closer to the trade deadline, because you need to develop a market. Now, there is a chance. This happened years ago, you might recall, with the Nate McLouth trade with the Braves, where they just come in and you think they knocked your socks off. So you just say, that's it. We're not waiting on a market. But those are rare. You want to develop a market. You want to have multiple teams coming and talking to you here. Let's see what else we got here. Tim says that you must come to a Mid-Hens Stadium for a game. What is that?
My guess is Mud-Hens.
Oh, Mud-Hens. Oh, Toledo.
That would be my guess in Toledo, yeah.
Have you been there, Tom?
Not the new. When I say new, I'm really dating myself. I went to the old stadium years ago when I was in college at Bowling Green, but I think they've had a new stadium, and I guess that stadium's been there for 20 years. I have not been to the new stadium, but I love going to Toledo. I love Toledo. And I love Detroit. I love that whole region. So I'm a big Detroit person.
When will Hexdall and Burke do their end of season talks? Dogger asks. Hexdall, I've been told, will speak with us on Monday. And then we won't hear from Burke until after that at some point, because Burke wants to defer to Hextall. So we're starting to see that dynamic kind of take shape. Tom, you've dealt with in covering the Blue Jackets in Columbus, that dynamic before, where there's a GM and then there's a hockey,
again.
and it's back again with JD back. John Davidson is back as president of hockey ops at Nationwide Arena. But for Pittsburghers, that's a new thing. How does that work? Not that this one will have to work the same way, but you would think it would be very similar.
Yeah, I think with John Davidson really gave Jarmo plenty of. He pretty much had all the latitude he needed as far as making deals. I think JD was, when he came in, he was terrific in the sense that it wasn't like it's kind of an apples and oranges comparison, because there was just nothing going on here, right? The team was really in the downer, and JD was looked at somebody as like, this is a national guy. We know him. He knows people. That doesn't. Mario Lemieux's your owner, so Mario Lemieux's Rolodex is pretty big. So John Davidson came in and did a very nice job. Brought in Jarmo, and Jarmo has. This,
had a by the way, is Jarmo Kekalainen, for anybody who doesn't know who he's talking about, is the general manager.
Yeah, and who did a really nice job early on, and then they've had a couple of players leave, and I'm sure that hasn't helped anyone's relationship. And John Davidson is now back because he got kicked out with Gorton in New York. So.
This dynamic, I think, in Pittsburgh, the way they've hinted at it, these two gentlemen, is going to be a case of Hextall makes the moves. Hextall is the one who pulls the trigger, and Burke is there more as an overseer, meaning someone he's going to have kind of his own thoughts and his own visions and stuff like that, and he's going to be able to back him up, but he's also going to have the last say in terms of hiring and firing the actual general manager, which is something that the Penguins didn't have before, and why things became difficult with each of their last two GMs here, because there was no one really in a position to fire Ray Shero or Jim Rutherford. You follow what I'm saying there? And you got to have that in some way. And David Morehouse, as immensely qualified as he is on the business end, is not that guy, and he'd be the first to tell you this on the hockey end. Let's do some football. Snowman says, how good can the Steelers' offensive line be? The first thing I would ask that you do, Snowman, is to check out my my Daily Shot podcast from today, because it was all about that subject. I am in on this group. I want you to know that, and I made that really, really clear today. I believe that what this offensive line needed more than anything else was some drive, some additional hunger, and I don't believe that was there with those older guys there last year, especially when it came to run blocking. I'm in favor of the youth and exuberance of Zach Banner, Kevin Dotson. Chooks Okorafor is still young. What if Kendrick Green is your starter? You know, what if he's your starting center and he's going out there wearing 53? David DeCastro can come back stronger and more energetic than before. He's got it. You know, I think he was beaten down by a lot of different things last year, including being hurt. Mr. Eric says, who wins Game 7 tonight, Tom?
Oh my goodness. It has to be Vegas, doesn't it? Although the last time it didn't go well last time with the talk about a botched penalty call with San Jose. If you remember that one, I think that was the last time it was. I mean that. So I say Vegas.
You know what? Minnesota, for whatever reason, has had their number. And it's been a strange thing. They're not the same old boring Wild as in the past. They've got Kirill Kaprizov. They've got players over there. And I think it's going to be interesting. But Tom's right. It'll be Vegas. I just wanted to like take devil's advocate, like just to this
No,
far.
you're right. I mean, I think they've done a hell of a job just to get to 7. But there were some people that picked Minnie as a sexy pick, and hey, getting to 7, that's nothing. That's nothing to sneeze at. They've done a nice job. That's been a good series. A lot of good series, actually.
Eric says, thank you for all the daily shots. I listen daily, even though I only truly follow the Pens. That's actually really cool. I've heard from a few people who do that. These things are like, they're 17, 18 minutes long or whatever. So listening to all 3 of them would take up an hour. And if you're not into the other 2 teams, I could see where that would be kind of like, really? Like, dude, like, I really don't care. The Steelers aren't doing anything right now. What does OTA even stand for? Tom, do you know many people who know what OTA stands for? Because my daughter asked me last night. She was like, what's an OTA? I keep hearing you use this term. What is that?
No, it's one of those phrases that has worked into our lexicon where people know the initials but don't know what the hell it means. There are many things in life. Something waste management. I can't remember what it was. If you said the phrase, people would be like, "What are you talking about?" Oh, DMW or whatever it is. Yeah. That's one of those phrases. No one has any idea.
No one knows what it is. It's just it becomes known by its acronym.
It's just OTA.
It's just an OTA is exactly right here. Craig says, who's your cup pick now and who does Colorado beat? Very well played, Craig. I am with the Avalanche. I know that's the easy pick. I do believe that the Stanley Cup champion this year will come out of the West. And I can't stray from that. I know that Tampa Bay is still there though, Tom.
Yes, they are, but they're going to have their own tough series here with Carolina. I think that's going to be terrific.
Alex Nedeljkovic. I say Alex Nedeljkovic. Listen how I can say his name beautifully. Did you hear that? Yes. Alexander Nedeljkovic is how you would say it exactly. He is like he even takes his mask off. He is the most Serbian-looking dude I have ever seen, and that's coming from a guy who's 100% Serbian. And I'm here to tell you that Alex Nedeljkovic is not going to beat Andrei Vasilevsky at the other end of the rink. He's just not.
I would be picking Tampa Bay in that series, but I'll tell you what, it would not surprise me because Carolina, the rest of their team, all they've been missing this whole time is a goaltender. And if they get good goaltending, they don't have to get great goaltending. They get good goaltending, they're going to be very much in this series.
They're also cheating, by the way. They circumvented the cap. I just feel like that has to be thrown in parenthetically here. Kevin says, optional team activities? That's very good. They are actually. Oh, why we never actually did say what it stood for, did we?
I don't even know what it is. It's just been OTAs.
Really?
No, I do.
Oh, okay.
It's been my whole life is just OTAs.
Off-season training activity is the term. It's actually a singular activity, but then we attach an S to it the same way we do with RBIs. Let's see. We have time for a couple more here. Does an extension for TJ or Minka happen this offseason? Well, Minka had his 5th-year option exercised, and that's going to do that for the coming season. But TJ, I do think that'll happen this summer. I really do. And I do think he is going to get what you see other major players get in this league. And he should. He should. He is one of, no matter where you rank him against Aaron Donald, and the other top guys for DPOY, he is one of the top 3 defensive players on the planet when it comes to the sport of football, and he should be paid accordingly, understanding that he's not a quarterback. Let's see what else we got here. Mark wants to know if does a healthy Casey DeSmith really change the outcome of an early exit for the Penguins? Would they have gotten past Boston or Tampa Bay? Well, those are separate issues to me. Yes, Casey DeSmith helps you beat the Islanders because all you needed, right, Tom?
I would have. Would you
competent goaltending? Competent.
Would you have started him in Game 6 if he was healthy?
No, I would have started him in like Game 2.
I hated not quickly.
I hated Jari's Game 1 in ways that I can't even describe.
Well, you know,
I ripped him after Game 1 in a way that I'll be honest with you, I was uncomfortable with it. Like I called it, including in the headline, embarrassing. And I try not to use terms like that, just throw them around. But I thought it was. I thought it was embarrassing.
Yeah, he would have certainly got in there at some point. It really is interesting to see teams. More and more teams are not being afraid to pull the plug, are they? We saw that with Florida. Florida went through 3 goaltenders in a series, and not one of them was hurt. And we've seen that Washington won the Stanley Cup.
Hey,
Philip
Tom.
Grubauer was the starter.
Hey, Tom, who was Florida's $9 million goaltender in this series, by the way?
Oh, my goodness. It's, you know what?
How?
I don't know.
Playoffs matter, man. We're talking, of course, about Sergei Bobrovsky, who for years in Columbus, he would be Mr. Vezina in the regular season, and then he would hear a rumor that the Penguins were coming across Interstate 70, and he would just go hiding under a desk.
We talked about that on our last podcast, and it's there was some thought of maybe when he beat Tampa Bay in the sweep that maybe he kind of gotten over that hump. Because we were talking about Tristan Jarry. Could he come back and get back in next year in good graces? And maybe this is just a playoff hiccup. He just did not play well in his first playoffs, but then Bob became Bob again in Florida. So I don't know. Some guys just don't have it. I don't know. What do you do? What do you do, DK? I think you have to bring him back and at least let him compete.
Who, Jarry?
Yeah.
Well, I think they're going to, and I think the strength and the authoritativeness with which the players expressed their confidence in him today. They didn't describe him as a good goalie. They described him as an elite goalie. They described him as having elite level talent. Players know this stuff. Players are out there against him in practice every day. These guys, they see him more than anybody. So I do think you're going to see him, but not as any sort of default number one. No chance here. No,
I agree with that.
I love the Jonathan Quick scenario. I really do. I think if you brought in somebody who's older but has that background that you can pay, when you're talking about UFAs, by the way, you're talking about Jonathan Quick, Tuukka Rask. There are guys out there, man, and they're real live hockey players. We're going to end today with Dave Gormley basically saying, not asking, it would be nice if the Penguins had a relatively healthy season, especially with their stars. Yeah, and Tom, I'll throw this in too. I wonder if you could ever see in the NHL the culture allow teams to do that thing that they've done in the NBA, where you prescribe rest through the regular season. You know your team's going to make it, and you say, listen, we appreciate your little Iron Man streak and this and that and whatever here, but you tell Sidney Crosby, listen, we don't gain anything from you playing 82.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, it's just accepted in the NBA.
What we need you, right. But even then, there was pushback. I think it was Golden State, the Golden State team. Is that what they're called? Golden State something?
Yes.
Okay.
What's your point here?
No, but weren't they the ones that started this? I think they were the ones that.
Well, LeBron. LeBron's been doing this for years. Sure, Golden State had.
I've heard of LeBron, so I can at least talk about
Golden State. Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of the stars have done. This has been going on for 10 years, maybe not 10.
In the NBA, right? But not. And there's some rest management that happens in baseball as well, but football's got too short of a season. Although we did see some of that with Chase Claypool last season in the Steelers, and they openly discussed it. Mike Tomlin said, we're trying to make sure he's never played more than X number of games before in his life, and we want him to be able to perform big time in the playoffs. I think that's another discussion that the Penguins need to have. You need to have your core playing at their maximum in the most important games.
Yeah, if you're in the position, especially late in the season, to do that, you're absolutely. I think it's absolutely wise, but it's always this macho, we're playing our guys right to the end type of thing, and I don't understand that.
Well, I understand that it's Memorial Day weekend, and I also understand that is a time when there's a lot of emphasis on cookouts and extra day off and everything. I also hope that there's a recognition and not just, parenthetically, of what Memorial Day is actually about. People who've given the ultimate sacrifice for the United States of America. I'm grateful for everyone who serves, everyone who has served, But I also understand, and I say this with immense respect, that's even they aren't what this holiday is about when you talk to those people who've done that. This one is about those who gave everything. Be smart, be safe. Wherever it is that you're driving to, drive carefully. Tom, what's your plans for the weekend?
Just sticking around Columbus. We'll be we're coming over. It's nice now. The plague is kind of finally leaving. I've been to Pittsburgh a couple times recently. It's great to be there. Can't wait to get to Mike's Beer Bar. But no, everything's good. And DK, I will give you a shout out for the way that you have worked over the years with some of the subscriptions with the veterans and stuff. I think it's wonderful. That's a really nice gesture on this website's part. I don't think I'd ever get another chance to say that, so I'll just say it now.
Well, I appreciate that, but the at the risk of turning this into a mutual whatever thing, that is entirely on the readers. The readers were the ones that challenged us to do that, and then the readers put their money where their mouth is. The readers said, "Listen," because we were giving away, Tom, when this site launched, we were giving free subscriptions to anyone who was active duty, because we wanted people who were, especially those serving overseas and in combat zones, to have full access to their teams. Okay.
Yeah.
It was the readers who started asking us, what about veterans? And we were like, hey, to be honest with you, we can't do it with everybody. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they were the ones that jumped in, and they're still doing that. If you're interested, by the way, just shoot me an email or a message through whatever forum you're watching this show. Anyway, we went on way too long. I appreciate everyone's time here. I appreciate your time, Tom, and we'll do this again on Monday.